Thanks, Nicole, for the introduction, and welcome everyone to the Corazon Mining Talk. Right, Corazon, ASX-listed exploration company with projects in Canada and Australia. I guess a point of difference with Corazon would be that we own an entire historical nickel sulphide mining centre in Canada with large JORC resources, and the technical value of that asset is completely at odds with our market cap of less than $10 million. We have 3 projects in total. We picked up a recent acquisition just out in James's backyard, Miriam, outside of Coolgardie, a nickel sulphide deposit discovered in 1969, never developed, owned, a long history of ownership by gold-focused exploration companies. In New South Wales, the Mount Gilmore project, copper cobalt dominant, early stage exploration play for large intrusive copper gold systems. Now we're active on all 3 projects at the moment, and I'll just run you quickly through what we're doing. Lynn Lake, as I said, the main asset, we're in between seasons there, so not much is happening on the ground. It's a lot easier to do things in winter than it is to do things in summer. In the background, we're doing a lot of, studies, mining studies, processing studies, and applying new and innovative techniques to the Lynn Lake project. We believe the opportunity these new systems and these new practices offer will be the foundation for the redevelopment of the Lynn Lake mine. We're also working on our winter exploration programs, drilling programs in the mining centre and on our regional exploration targets. Miriam, it's still in application status, unfortunately. This has been a long process, but we're hoping we're coming to the end of it pretty soon. We're ready to go. We've got the geophysical surveys planned, we've penciled in contractors, and we hope it'll be a smooth transition from the geophysics generating the targets onto drilling. But we haven't put timelines on this because it's been twice as long as we thought it would be already. Mount Gilmore, New South Wales, the recent work we've done there has really been in cooperation with the University of Tasmania, and they're using proprietary knowledge and mineral vectoring techniques that aren't public to really look at what we've got and generate vectors towards the heat systems of what we think we have. The early work has said, without a doubt, the mineral characteristics they see at the surface of Mount Gilmore says that there's a porphyry copper deposit at depth, and that's their word. When queried about this, they said no, they haven't seen these characteristics associated with anything else but deposits. And that doesn't say it's economic, but that says what the system is. So that's exciting for us. We hope to be finishing this next round of studies in the next 3 months and drilling early next year on that. All right, we're fully funded for this exploration, and one other thing I want to point out here, with our market cap travelling pretty close to our cash backing, that we've got 2 very supportive shareholders as, takeover protection, with Delphi and Blackstone Minerals acquiring around 40% of our register. And I have to say that Corazon has never had this much cash, and we've probably never been this cheap, so it's all up, I hope. Right, Lynn Lake, it's mainly I'm talking about today is Lynn Lake. So excellent location. There's 3 growth areas for the rechargeable battery sector. 1 is Europe, 2 China, and the 3rd is North America. Lynn Lake has access via rail all the way through North America, and even access to Europe through Hudson Bay, now that Hudson Bay doesn't freeze due to global warming. Excellent project with respect to infrastructure. The jewel in the crown there is the hydro schemes. There's 2 hydro schemes in town. This really is what they call a green nickel project. Lynn Lake is very unique within the greenstone belt it sits, and also completely different to the nearest other major nickel centre, which would be Thompson, about 320 k's away. Lynn Lake is a cluster of ovoid-shaped mineralised mafic, ultramafic intrusions, and we own all the ones that have historically been identified. The main mining centre is centred on the A plug and the L plug to the north there, and our main exploration play is the Fraser Lake complex, sitting down there. It's twice as big as the mining centre and has all the right, chemical and mineral characteristics that says it should host massive sulphide deposits. It's a prolific producer of nickel, mined for 24 years, 1 million tonnes per annum. As is the case of a lot of mines of this vintage, very labour intensive. There are about 3,500 people that lived in Lynn Lake at its heyday, and they relied on, manpower and gravity to move the ore from where it is, from the stopes to the shafts before hoisting through to processing. Take you through this. This is a long section through the mining centre, and we've tried to, it's looking down to the southwest, we've tried to replicate what's in that photo there with the A shaft on the left and the Farley shaft on the right. We've got about 10,000 drill holes in our database that identify about 20 deposits in the mining centre. We've got resources on 6 of those, and those purple blobs you see there. When this mine shut down, they were selectively mining the N and the O deposits. Just in there. That was partly developed down about 1,100 metres below surface, and the mine was running 24/7, but the mill had slowed down to 50% capacity. This is not how we believe the Lynn Lake deposits need to be mined. We believe that these are a bulk tonnage, low cost mining opportunity. And there's a bit of evidence for this. In 2016, we did a fairly detailed, I guess, in-house concept mining studies. And what we're trying to do is understand the upfront capex to get this thing back up and operational, using how the mining techniques and the processing techniques that were done historically. So we were loading up the capex, we were loading up the OPEX and trying to reduce the capex. So a lot of the underground development costs we put into OPEX, reduced the upfront capex. We got up to as high as about 0.67% nickel for our OPEX, and we applied that to the N and the O deposits. And that identified 243 separate stopes just in those 2 deposits. So really picking the peas out of the pod. And an amazing thing happens as you reduce that OPEX and reduce your cut-off grade, that these stopes start to join up into, I guess, geologically believable shapes, and eventually they move towards geological contacts like faults or lithological boundaries. And this is where we're trying to head with Lynn Lake. But to go this direction, completely different to what was done on the ground before, we've got to start from the basics, and we've got to start with the foundation assumptions that we have for this operation. And that's things like geotech. That information doesn't exist. It was never recorded back there, but we know this ground is excellent. It can handle large stopes. It can handle underground crushing voids and things like that. So that's not a problem. Our metallurgy these days is so much better than what was done historically. We can produce just about anything we want, high grade, high value concentrates, mixed concentrates, and we know that we can go on and produce battery products, etc. So that's where we are with that. And there's also added benefits to that. If I go back a slide, at a 0.5 base cut for our resource, we report 16 million tonnes. Now, if we lower that base cut from 0.5 to 0.4, suddenly we're approaching 30 million tonnes in our resource, which is a significant upgrade in metal and a much longer life operation. Another thing to note on this slide would be the double asterisk above the nickel. When you look at these grades we present here, they're total recoverable metal. These are sulfide nickel. There's no silicate, unrecoverable silicate nickel in this. So similar deposits, say in Australia, typically you'd have 0.2, 0.3% nickel reported in your total nickel grade, which was never recoverable. So this is our recoverable nickel. This is our total nickel as well. So it's, I guess, similar to a 1% ore body. Exploration-wise, while all that mining work and studies are going on in the background, it's not very newsworthy. We rely on exploration to really provide the sizzle to the market, and it's stop-start in Canada. And we had hoped our Australian assets would be advanced enough where we could fill the gaps with, drilling in Coolgardie or New South Wales, but it's just also been a bit slower there. So exploration really provides the information the market's looking for. These are magnetic images of the entire project area with a zoom into our main exploration play, which is Fraser Lake. We've been exploring Fraser Lake since about 2017 with campaign exploration programs. Some years we do nothing, other years we do 2 or 3 programs. But it's the geological model for this has completely changed, and I understand what you're going through with your projects in Western Australia, because these big systems are quite complicated. And when we took this project on, this was a layered, intrusive mafic, ultramafic, and what we're looking at is not. The sulfide-rich, the metal-rich melt is very late in this history of intrusion here. It's the same as a mining centre, and we now believe one of the key theories would be that the magma at Fraser Lake has come up through the South Pipe, which wasn't known about 18 months ago, and has gone, and then reached a point where it's gone horizontally, intruded into the pre-existing, probably barren Fraser Lake complex, and also north into the Montreal complex up there. So that's where we are. We've done a few drilling programs in Fraser Lake, predominantly focused on the matrix trend, and that's a trend that's been identified by IP. IP will see disseminated sulfides. We've hit an incredible amount of sulfides there, and there's some pretty pictures of I guess the money rocks, the nickel and the chalk pyrite sitting in there, and you can see the beautiful growth textures. But also, IP, as I said, identifies disseminated sulfides, big zones of disseminated sulfides, lots of cloud sulfides. That 22.6 metres at 0.7% nickel wouldn't be out of place in the mining centre. What we haven't hit are the large, massive sulfide deposits we see in the Lynn Lake mining centre, but we know they have to be there somewhere. Just recently, we've had to move to higher ground in the last drill program. We put some holes in the Montreal complex. Got a surprise there. We hit some visible pentlandite. The Montreal complex was sampled in the 1980s. It was believed to be nickel deficient, and what they were saying was the nickel's pulled out of the melt before it's got there and settled down. We think there's another possibility now, is that this thing has settled in place and there could be a sulfide accumulation at depth within the Montreal complex, and that's not too far away. That's between 400 and 600 metres down. It's actually a very shallow type intrusion. What we haven't explored yet is probably the key area, if this model is true. That's between the South Pipe and where we see all the nickel sulfide up at the matrix trend. That's about 1 or 2 kilometres. Very difficult place to explore in summer or winter. I think it's going to be a helicopter job. We don't have a lot of geophysical coverage down there, but the surveys we do have do show anomalies. We're expecting also to hit a lot of red herrings with barren VMSs that we see in the system. But we're still trying to just work out what we're going to do there this winter, but I think it's a good exploration target and one we're pretty keen to hit if we can this year. Geophysics is the key. You can throw electromagnetics at the door. Electromagnetics is the go-to geophysics for nickel sulfide, but it just doesn't work in Lynn Lake. Generates too many anomalies, too many targets, or it doesn't penetrate to depth because of the conductive cover. We've tried everything else: magnetics, gravity, IP. IP seems to be really good, but along with magnetics, it doesn't really give you X marks the spot. It's a bigger picture and it's a contradictory picture a lot of the times. The last drill program we did, spring going on to summer, would have been some gravity targets. We drilled 3 of the targets, that one, and that one. The first 2, we stopped the drill holes short, about 200 metres short of the targets. We just didn't like what we're seeing in the drill holes, and we thought we'd get the downhole EM crews in there first, do downhole EM and see if we have to adjust the hole direction, azimuth and all that kind of stuff. By the time we got the crews on site, we were flooded off the holes and couldn't get back on them. So we went up to the Montreal complex, high ground, and drilled those holes and had some success there. So this is work that we still have to complete. It's not completed, I guess. So we weren't able to deliver this news to the market a couple of months ago, which is sad for us. Right, Corazon. As I said, exploration is what delivers the market news for us, and I think what will appreciate our share price in the near term. It's we really have to keep going with hitting these targets, generating the targets at Fraser Lake in the mining centre. It's amazing in the mining centre. It's been known for 75 years, mined for 25 years. And yet every company that's drilled an exploration hole within the mining centre, despite those 10,000 holes, has made a new discovery, including Corazon. So that's it's always a good thing to go back there and drill and test extensions and concepts and things like that. Fraser Lake, we've got a lot of targets to drill. We really want to get down to the South Pipe and start testing those ones as well. Miriam, I hope we're drilling before the end of the year, but it might be early next year. Definitely the geophysics will be done in the next couple of months, we hope. And if we can get all these studies done through the codes and University of Tasmania, we know we'll have X marks the spot at Mount Gilmore also. So there's a lot of news coming through. But the big thing for the company has always been reinventing the Lynn Lake project. And we believe that there's no love out there for junior nickel companies at the moment. A NOSTEX report last week came out and the nickel price has gone up 31% in the last 12 months. Nickel share prices of nickel companies have gone down 8%. So we know there's no love for nickel juniors especially. We've just got to keep doing this work. And we believe if we do the right work at Lynn Lake, advance this project towards development, that the value will be there for our shareholders. So thank you very much.